Hi, my name is Kat. I'm an artist teacher and I don't know where I am. And this is another edition of I try to make something using old software that was not designed to make the things that I'm gonna try to make with it. Welcome back. If you were a child in the 90s or the early 2000s and your school had a newfangled thing called computers, you might remember KidPix. Today I'm going to be seeing what's possible when a mentally ill and aging millennial clings on to the memories of childhood and exploits nostalgia for views on the internet by making absurd recreations from art history using 30-year-old software designed for children. So what is KidPix? KidPix is a series of art creation software designed for both Windows and Macs, starting with 1.0 in 1990 and most recently KidPix 5, released in 2018. KidPix was the first exposure I ever had to making digital art, probably around like 1999, and before that I didn't even know you could make art on a computer. The zany sounds from the different tools are forever ingrained in my head. And just like Mario Paint, it encouraged discovery and creativity by making the program fun to use. And I think it's a shame that Photoshop doesn't have the same noises. I wonder if there's an extension for that. The history of KidPix is just as wholesome as the software too. The program was originally designed by Craig Hickman, who is a photographer and professor at the University of Oregon. He was inspired to make a kid-focused art creation software after seeing his 3-year-old son, Ben, try to create art on the only program that was available, Mac Paint. Side note, Mac Paint was absolutely the blueprint for not only KidPix, but basically every art creation software that we have now. And I think my next video is going to be on Mac Paint as I kind of go deeper and deeper into digital art making history. After Craig saw his son cry because he was too stupid to use Mac Paint, it made him realize that there wasn't really any software made for idiot babies like his son. So he wanted to create a program that you didn't really need to know how to read to use, and it didn't have a confusing UI with pop-ups and things that would make a kid frustrated. The beta version was created in 1989, and he only really distributed it to some parents that he knew and mostly made it for just his son to have something fun to use. And then when he self-published the software, he only sold around 100 copies. After this, he was encouraged to approach the software company Broderbund Software, who published really influential games in the 80s and 90s like Carmen Sandiego and Prince of Persia. After Broderbund happily struck a deal with Craig Hickman, KidPix was released to the general public in 1991. And as a result of the wide release, it became a staple in many public education systems. It inspired a generation of now millennials to create things and have fun with it. And I know that I personally would not be the same without it. Today, there are still people who use KidPix for semi-serious work. My longtime friend and great illustrator, Jonathan Fair, has created hundreds of images with KidPix, and he's practically a KidPix expert. You know, I realized that the phrase KidPix expert is probably not great sounding, and hopefully the YouTube algorithm does not flag me for that. My friend Jonathan has even recreated famous pieces of art like I plan on doing, and he definitely did it better than I will be able to do. So I'm pretty nervous to approach this in an earnest effort in case I look like a crying 3-year-old. But do you know what will make you feel not like a crying 3-year-old? This video's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of courses in just about everything. If you're like me, you love to learn and maybe pick up new hobbies, but maybe get overwhelmed by trying to dive into it without any instruction. I just watched through Creative Confidence and Silencing Your Inner Critic by Daniel Krissa, who is an amazing curator and also a friend of mine, and it helped me feel empowered in my creativity and get me out of this art block that I've kind of been in. The video courses on Skillshare are incredibly insightful, high quality, and break everything down into short lessons so it's easy to digest new information. And I'm not just saying that I like Skillshare because they're sponsoring this video. I actually legitimately use it and feel good about recommending it. If you want to learn more in the new year, give Skillshare a try. The first 1,000 people to use my link in the description will get a 1-month free trial. Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. So obviously I knew I wanted to make something with KidPix, but I had to choose something I wanted to recreate. And last time for my Mario Paint video, I chose between Goya's Saturn devouring his son and Caravaggio's Judith beheading Holofernes. So I think it's only natural that I go with the Caravaggio painting now. I'm so sorry, Craig. When choosing between which version of KidPix I wanted to use, I felt like it was only natural that I went with the one that I remember using as a kid, and that is KidPix Studio. KidPix Studio is a slightly later version, but really the only major change is that there's a much wider color palette that you can use, which I think is really going to help me. Otherwise, I would only have 16 colors again, and I didn't really have the option of making my own colors through dithering. So I think it was only necessary that I went with this version. If you want to use this software today, you can go on archive.org, and there's a bunch of versions that are up there in an emulator. And someone has made a web browser version of KidPix, but it's not exact, and I don't think the colors are 100% accurate, so I didn't feel right using that. And since I'm not some bitch who uses a fucking drawing tablet, I'm going to be using an actual mouse. And I'm using a Magic Mouse that's probably like 10 years old. I don't even know where I got this. And just so you guys didn't have to hear this while I'm making it, I have a mouse pad. Problem being, I did not have a normal size mouse pad, and I only had this really gigantic one, so. All right, I think I'm ready to go. Let's journey into recreating Caravaggio's Judith beheading Holofernes using KidPix Studio, released in 1996.
Paint a picture.
I think we should start the same way that we started the Goya piece and paint bucket it black, because the background is going to be black and everything is going to sit on top of that. And then I think I'm going to kind of do similar approach of blocking the 3 figures in. I can't zoom into this, so it's going to be really challenging to fit all this detail. There's a starting point maybe. Now let's go to that like first kind of deeper layer. Okay, that's starting to look like a face. Well, this is going to require another session, I think, for me to totally get all those details right. So I'm going to work on this tomorrow. One day later. All right, so it's looking pretty good. I think I need to turn my focus to two main parts. First, it's this red draping fabric in the top left. I remember so specifically from an art history course like 10 years ago. My professor was like, the fourth character in this painting is that red cloth because it adds so much to the composition. It evokes this feeling of violence and drama, and it echoes the movement that's happening in the people. So I want to get it right. And then I think the last final detail that I need to get super right is the sword and the blood coming out of the sword. The more I draw this image, the more I realize like how dark it is. I don't know if it's super common knowledge, but Caravaggio literally killed somebody. Not even a debatable conspiracy. He just straight up murdered somebody. So this painting in context of that is a little intense, but I feel like it's integral to getting the feeling of the painting right. So let's do this fabric and then the sword and call it good because I'm tired of looking at this and I need to finish it. Okay, I forgot that I started using a different red for this. I don't remember using this red. Okay, that's like the basic form, I think. One of the most important things with doing something like this, where you can't really blend between colors, you don't want to just like put down colors in scribbles. It can work, you have to be really good at it, but it's more about like creating interesting shapes within the colors themselves so that they feel like intentional. Now let's get in on this sword action. All right, now let's add that blood. Okay, that's feeling pretty close. I feel like I need to put just like a little bit more refinement on the on the cloth. You know, I've come this far. I might as well just finish the job. Okay, I think it's complete. So, this is what I was trying to make, and this is what I ended up creating using Pix Studios, released in 1996 on Mac OS 7.5. I'm actually pretty happy with how it came out. I kind of surprised myself. I really didn't think it was gonna turn out as close as it did. I really thought it was gonna look so much worse. So I'm actually happy with myself for once in my life. And thank you so much for watching this video. And a special thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. I objectively love you more. Every month I post a new video or podcast and I list recommendations of things that I'm enjoying. I have dozens of hours of guides, lessons, everything over there. So feel free to support me over there, over on my shop. This was fun to make. I spent way too much time doing it. And now I have to edit it at all. I don't want to do that. Okay. Until next time, do an art.
Yikes!